Welcome back, everybody. This is this month's complete set presentation. Tonight we're going all the way back to 1992, which was a big transition year for Topps with their flagship set. We're going to be going through the 1992 Topps set, but not just the Topps set. It's going to be one of the parallel sets. So before we jump in there, let me talk a little bit about what was so different about the 1992 Topps set. We will see shortly that they changed their cardstock with this. They have a white cardstock, which features white backs on these cards, which makes the printing on there very legible. In addition to that, they had glossy finishes on the front of their cards, and they removed the gum from this is the first year that they removed gums from their flagship packs, and gum didn't reappear again until Heritage, when they actually had it in a special wrapper that they put into some of the Heritage packs through the early parts of the 2000s, but then disbanded it thereafter. This also was the first set where they had parallels of the cards available. They were going to be one per pack, and it was a gold card. They did it for 3 years, 92, 3, and 4, before they disbanded it for a while and brought it back in 2001. These are gold cards, were one per pack, as I mentioned. There was no idea to know how many of these were printed because we didn't have the print runs back in, and they're not serial numbered. There is the gold, and there's also going to be the gold winners. I'm going to show you the gold winners. The gold winners were actually, I guess, if you had, I think I heard somewhere, if you had gotten enough wrappers or enough gold cards or something like that, if you, more or less, if you purchased and opened enough Topps products, you could turn this into Topps. And in exchange, you could have gotten a complete set of Topps gold, which you're going to say gold winner on the cards. And also you could have purchased a limited number of Topps sets that had all the gold parallel cards in there, including their very first pack autograph card, which was going to be a Breen Taylor autograph card, which was the very first time that they did it back in 1992. So let's jump into the 1992 set, show you a little bit about the cards. I'll talk just a little bit about the season. As you can see, the paper stock or the card stock has white borders all the way throughout on here. And then there's obviously a border within the border here, in addition to the gold printing that they put on these cards. So the gold printing actually made it very hard to read their names on the cards unless you're looking at it in the right light, because the gold foil technology wasn't really very good at that point of making really distinction of having lettering on top of gold background at that point. These are the gold winners. It's going to be listed there. And this is the one that was the redemption set from what I understand. So let's kind of go through the season. I'll show you some of the Hall of Famers, and we'll talk a little bit about the set itself as we go through it. Starting with obviously Nolan Ryan. He was still active at this point in 1992, with his final season coming later on. The following season, we have a Rickey Henderson record breaker card. So that's a Hall of Famer. Nolan Ryan once again. Dave Winfield, and then they had draft pick cards inserted again. This is not the first time they did draft picks, but as I mentioned, the Breen Taylor draft pick card is in here. This is not the one you're looking for that has the autograph. That's in a very different card. All right, let's kind of jump through here, and I'll kind of show you some of the players that stand out to me as I look through it. They still had the Gold Cup cards, as we kind of see right here. This was Luis Gonzalez, who actually had a pretty good career. This is back when he was a little bit leaner and with the Astros in the early part of his career. We have Wade Boggs, and former Cy Young Award winner for the White Sox. Jack McDowell was still with the White Sox at this point. They hadn't made the playoffs as a team yet. That came the following season. We have Mike Scioscia, who went on to become a World Series winning manager as well as a player, but not at that point. You have Denny Martinez, El Presidente, who actually pitched a perfect game at one point in his career. A lot of stars right from the beginning. Here's Chuck Knobloch's Gold Cup card. Watch out for his throws. We have Juan Gonzalez, one of the stars of that era. Speaking of this era, this is when you start to really see the emergence of the steroid players, even though we didn't know about it really in depth. At this point, it was going to come another 10 plus years later. That's when they started having a very heavy influence on the game. Obviously, Canseco was a big one at that time. As I forgot to mention, here's the white backs of the cards. There's a little image below on each and every one of the cards, which actually is the stadium that they play in. And then there's actually have stats on here where you kind of read about it. And then there's Topps that's actually in the background of the card. It says Topps Gold on here. That's why you know it's a Topps Gold card. Let's see if I make sure I don't miss anything. Love these draft pick cards from the era because it was very, the style and the images on there is very early 90s, especially when they start wearing their fancy shirts. We have Cal Ripken's card. This one's a little dark. He's actually standing in the Monument Park at Yankee Stadium next to Lou Gehrig in there. It would be cool if that image was a little bit brighter. It is a cool card, but some of the images are still a little bit dark on some of these cards. I have Hall of Famer Gary Carter here. Here's the Ken Griffey Jr., one of the more collectible cards in this set. There's only really one rookie of note, and I'll show it to you when we get there. It's a standalone rookie. You can see some of the prospect cards had pictures of all four pictured. Then they also had like draft pick cards where it's just a single player. And we have Rafael Palmeiro up in the corner here. There's like one of the draft picks. That's what they look like. Good old Kenny Lofton, still an Astro in that card. I forget he even played there. We have Ivan Rodriguez with the Gold Cup. That's Robin Yount. I've had a hard time reading their names on here, actually, so I'm trying to go through it quickly, but I'm having a hard time with it. Here's one of the funniest pictures you'll ever see of Sammy Sosa, in my opinion. There you go, Sammy. Slugging Sammy Sosa right there. Omar Vizquel, one of the better shortstops of this era. You see they have some cards that are going to be more landscape, and the rest of the cards are going to be horizontal on here. You have Jose Canseco at the top there, almost missed him. Ryan Sandberg, this is also a period in baseball they started doing a lot of the throwback uniforms. So this was like the Giants of whatever era that they were kind of leaning back towards. I think it was the Giants from obviously the early period of New York, even though they didn't have probably numbers on those uniforms back then, but obviously they did in their version of these jerseys at that point. Alan Trammell. Trying not to miss anybody, but it's hard to kind of read all the names. Unfortunately, I do recognize most of the players just by their pictures, but not exclusively. Here's Roger Clemens. There's Manny Ramirez rookie card. That's the big rookie in this set. His Bowman rookies are going to be the ones that are a little bit more coveted during this period of time because 92 Bowman was a very pivotal set in the Bowman run. And it's been obviously duplicated since, as they paid homage to it through their Heritage Series. All right. So the 1992 season is going to be known as the first time a team outside of the United States won the World Series. It's only happened twice, which happened the following year when the Toronto Blue Jays, at least for 92, beat the Atlanta Braves 4-2 after winning the American League Championship Series against the Oakland A's. But actually, the NL Championship Series is probably the one that has people remembering the most. Here's the NL Rookie of the Year, Eric Karros. Go Buck Showalter, he's been around forever. One of my guys, Ozzy. Risk Goose Gossage. Got to be near the end of his career. I don't know if it's his last card or not, but it's got to be close. Robbie Alomar. Jack Morris. Coming off that great 91 season with the Twins. Mike Bucina, upcoming star at that point. John Smoltz. His mustache wasn't quite filled in at that point. There's Ken Griffey Sr. One of my guys too, Robin Ventura. There's Tommy Lasorda. Tony Gwynn. Kind of a cool looking Gwynn card. Haven't really looked at it that closely before. It's pretty neat. As I mentioned, the NLCS is the championship series that people remember the most. Mostly because of how it ended. It ended with a game-winning hit against the Pirates in Game 7, with Sid Bream just beating a throw to home by Barry Bonds. And I know Barry Bonds got a lot of grief throughout his career at that point because they thought he didn't hustle enough to get the throw home in time. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily what I saw, but that's kind of was the criticism of him. And kind of a reputation of not being able to win the big game. I kind of stuck with him well into the end of his career when they lost the World Series again in 2002, even though he had a very good performance during that World Series against the Angels. You got Bo Jackson, Kevin Brown and Ray Langford, pretty good stars of that era. Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly, Tom Glavine. These names take me back, man. Here's Curt Schilling with the Astros, which always looks funny to me. I never think of him as an Astro. Sweet Lou Piniella. Will the Thrill Clark up here. Sure hope I'm not missing anybody because names are kind of hard to pick up a little bit. They actually do look kind of cool, especially with the right lighting. The names do kind of pop a little bit. Even though I'm having a hard time seeing them right now, but they have to hit the light just right. And it's a little bit of fun to kind of have this set versus the base set. Nothing against the base set, but this one makes it a little bit more unique and rare. This was the last year. Here's Burt Bryleven before they introduced Finest and having refractors. They still had Stadium Club. This is the second year of Stadium Club in here. But this is probably the best of the Topps products they had that year outside of the Bowman set. Here's Barry Bonds. And we get the All-Star cards coming up now, so we'll have a lot of Hall of Famers. Starting with Ryan Sandberg, Barry Larkin, not a Hall of Famer, but Bonds. Craig Biggio, Hall of Famer. Tom Glavine, Lee Smith, Hall of Famers. Wade Boggs, Cal Ripken. There's Roger Clemens, not a Hall of Famer, but definitely a star of that era. Including Dave Stewart, also a star of that era. All right, here we got Tim Raines on this card going as Rock Raines on there. Tony La Russa. All right, so your Hall of Famers, the people that voted in and inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1992 included Raleigh Fingers, Bill McGowan, Hal Newshouser, and one of my favorite players of all time, Tom Seaver, were the ones that actually got put in the Hall of Fame in this season. Mark McGwire there. Barry Larkin. In your rookie years, as I mentioned earlier, your rookie of the years were Eric Karros in the National League, then also Pat Listash of the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know if he has a card in this set. Well, if I see him, I'll point him out. Bobby Cox, Hall of Fame manager. I will say if you have these cards in a box, they will start to stick together. So this is actually one of those things where you might actually want to consider putting them into soft sleeves or a set or a binder of some sorts. Just so you kind of can keep them separate from one another because the gold foil can stick a little bit to one card. Jeff Bagwell, Gold Cup card. Larry Walker, Hall of Famer right there. Benji Gill, very interesting looking picture there. Don't know what he's looking at. He looks very serious. Joe Torre, managing the St. Louis Cardinals. I got Chipper Jones, featured on this card here. Edgar Martinez. Frank Thomas, one of the more noted pictures from this set. Ricky Henderson, that's just an awesome swing. Just got like how ripped he is. Just builds up the whole picture with like how strong of a body he had, and he's really like cracking the butt out of that ball, I bet. Here's Lee Smith. Here's someone I think should be reconsidered Hall of Fame, Lou Whitaker. Kirby Puckett. Your MVPs, there's Greg Maddux. He actually was, let's start with the Cy Young Award winners actually, because Greg Maddux was the National League Cy Young Award winner. This is the last year he pitched for the Chicago Cubs before he went over and became a Brave, where he obviously spent the majority part of his career and won a World Series. Your other AL Cy Young Award winner is actually also your AL MVP, which was Dennis Eckersley. And then your NL MVP was Barry Bonds, whom we've seen already. One of his many MVPs that he won in his career. And then your managers of the year were Jim Leland and Tony La Russa. It's Chris Gwynn, Tony's brother. George Brett. Again, one of the quoted pictures in the set. Carlton Fisk, one of my guys. He was out of the products after 93. It was his last time around. There's Harold Baines. Everybody's favorite Hall of Famer. Near the end here, Fred McGriff, one of our newer Hall of Famers. Bobby Witt Sr. Good old Dale Murphy. That point with the Phillies. Gary Sheffield. Craig Biggio. Old Dwight Gooden. Just put Doc on his card on that one. It's pretty cool. Pedro's brother, Ramon. Former MVP, Ken Caminetti. Not an MVP at that point. There's Billy Ripken, Cal's brother. See him a lot on the Baseball Network. Ozzie Smith. Very cool looking card right there. Jim Thome. Over 600 home runs in his career. As I mentioned Sid Bream earlier. And it ends with Dave Winfield's the last card in the set. I may have missed, I don't know if I caught Glavine in there, and I don't know if I caught Eckersley. As I mentioned, the gold foil makes it a little hard to see their names, so I apologize, but hopefully you got a chance to see that. You can obviously look up those images online if you're interested in what those cards look like, if you want to go back and do it. Other than that, I think I got everybody I wanted to kind of point out. Hope you enjoyed the set itself. And have a great rest of your month. And for those of you heading out to the Nationals soon, hope you have a great show, and hopefully I'll run into a few of you. All right, that is all I have for you now.